Story 1. The Vanishing Hiker Who Left His Own Footsteps Behind. I had been hiking for years, but this trip changed me forever. It was late October when my friend Ethan and I decided to take a 3-day trek into the Appalachian Mountains. The air was crisp. The trees had turned shades of red and orange, and the trails were empty, just the way we liked it. The first day was peaceful. The sound of leaves crunching beneath our boots, the occasional rustle of a squirrel darting through the underbrush. It felt like any other hike. But something changed as the sun began to set. We set up camp on a ridge, overlooking a mist-covered valley. Everything was normal until we heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching through the leaves. We turned our flashlights toward the trees. Nothing. Probably an animal, we told ourselves. But that night, lying in my tent, I heard them again, closer, right outside. The next morning, we found footprints, not ours. They circled our campsite, stopping just outside our tents. There were no signs of entry or exit. As we continued deeper into the mountains, the feeling of being watched never left us. That night, we set up camp again near a stream. At midnight, the footsteps returned. Only this time, they weren't coming from the woods. They were inside our camp. Ethan and I froze, flashlights scanning the area. Then we saw them, footprints forming in the dirt. We ran, grabbing only what we could carry. We sprinted through the dark, not stopping until we reached our car at sunrise. A local ranger later told us we weren't the first to experience this. Some hikers had seen the same footprints. Others never made it back. Story 2. The Man Who Knocked at Our Cabin Window. From the second floor. A few winters ago, I went on a ski trip with my brother, Adam, and 2 friends. We rented a cabin deep in the Rockies. No neighbors, no cell service, just miles of snow and trees. The first night was peaceful. We made a fire, drank hot cocoa, and talked late into the night. Around midnight, we locked up and went to sleep. At exactly 3:12 a.m., I woke up to a sound. Knock, knock, knock. It was coming from the window. I sat up, confused. The front door was locked. Who would be outside in the middle of the night? I pulled back the curtain. A man was standing there. His face was pale, lips cracked from the cold, eyes wide and empty. I scrambled out of bed, ran to wake the others. Adam grabbed a bat and sprinted to the front door. He swung it open. No one was there. There were no footprints in the snow. The next night, we set up a camera facing the window. If someone was messing with us, we'd catch them. At 3:12 a.m., the knocking started again. We rushed to check the camera, but what we saw made no sense. The knocking was coming from the second floor window. There was no balcony, no ladder, nothing but solid wall beneath it. And in the footage, the man's face. It wasn't right. His eyes were black voids, and his mouth, it was smiling. We left that morning. When we told the cabin owner what happened, he just shook his head and said, "You're lucky you left. Most people don't." Story 3. The Whispers in the Mountain Cave. Last summer, I joined a mountaineering expedition in the Andes. Our guide, Luis, had been leading trips for decades. On the third day, we came across a cave. It was massive, stretching deep into the rock. Luis immediately told us to stay away. "That place is cursed," he said. Of course, we didn't listen. That night, 3 of us decided to check it out. The cave was freezing, the walls damp, our breath visible in the air. We walked deeper, flashlights barely cutting through the darkness. Then we heard it. Whispers, soft, indistinct, like dozens of voices murmuring just beyond the reach of our lights. We turned to leave, but the entrance was gone. It was as if the cave had shifted behind us. Panic set in. We ran forward, hoping to find another way out. That's when we saw them. Figures, tall, thin silhouettes standing in the darkness. Their faces were blurred, their bodies barely visible. Then, one of them stepped closer, and it spoke. "You're not supposed to be here." The cave collapsed around us. We woke up outside, gasping for air. The entrance was sealed shut, like it had never been there. Luis was waiting. He didn't ask what happened. He only said, "Some doors should never be opened."